Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shishimadas Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shishimadas Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. She had Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shishi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Jagya Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to some devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to some devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to some devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, Prabhu's Hare Krishna. For some reason my iPad went into a little default mode. It said try again in 1 minute. I didn't think I put the password in that many times, so it'll just take a second. And then, what's that, Prabhu? Okay. And then it should come on in a minute because I got some notes on it.
Okay, yeah, just let me know.
Okay, and then Prabhu, okay. So I will start with the verse here. By the way, it's been a long time since I've given a class, so in the occupation I had before, I was in facilities management for lots of locations. Part of that was keeping up all the equipment in workout places. So one thing that would happen every so often is that if somebody's working on some machine, one of our technicians, it would not be running quite smoothly. So I'm appealing to all of you for the lubricant of your kindness and salve to kind of get this machine running again. So, Hare Krishna. Okay.
So you know how we do it one word at a time?
Right, we start at one. Okay, I got this on. Yeah. Yeah, just for some reason it went to some kind of a default. Okay, thank you. Okay. So we'll start at one word at a time. Okay. Okay. Vyavasayena.
19.
Oh, that's right. Okay, then I'll do that because I went and put down this verse for the one I'm going to speak to on 20. So if you have 19 there.
You got it right there.
Right there. Okay, I'll have to.
Oh, you are here.
I'll have to backtrack. So, because what it is, I saved it in my notes, just to kind of give me some reference. Okay. All right, Prabhu. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so Naitat Purvarshayash Chakrur Na Karishyanti Chapare Nirambur Dharayet Pranan Ko Vai Divya Samaha Shattam. Naitat purvarshayaschakrur na karishanti chapare nirambur darayet pranan kovai divya samashatam naitat purvarshayat chakrur na karishanti chapare nirambur darayet pranan kovai divya samashatam naitat purvarshayash chakrur na karishanti chapare nirambur darayet pranan kovai divya samashatam. Someone else? Purvarshayash chakrur na karishanti chapare nirambur darayet pranan kovai divya samashatam. Naitat purvarshayash chakrur na karishanti chapare nirambur darayet pranan kovai divya samashatam. Someone else here? Naitat purvarshayash chakrur na karishanti chapare nirambur darayet pranan kovai divya samashatam. Anybody online? Okay. Naitat purvarshayash chakrur nairishanti chapare nirambur darayet pranan kovai divya samashatam. All right. Okay, we'll do the word for words. Na, not. Etat, this. Purva rishaya, the sages before you, such as Bhrigu. Chakru, executed. Na, nor. Karishanti, will execute. Cha, also. Apare, others. Nirambu, without drinking water. Darayet, can sustain. Pranan, the life air. Ka, who. Vai, indeed. Divya sama, celestial years. Shatam, 100. Translation. Even saintly persons like Bhrigu, born previously, could not perform such severe austerities, nor will anyone in the future be able to do so. Who within these three worlds can sustain his life without even drinking water for 100 celestial years? Purport. It appears that even if a yogi does not drink a drop of water, he can live for many, many years by the yogic process, though his outer body be eaten by ants and moss. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to text 20. And then I've got it on my computer if you want to have yours back. Yeah. Okay. My dear son of Diti, this is Lord Brahma speaking. My dear son of Diti, with your great determination and austerity, You have done what was impossible even for great saintly persons, and thus I have certainly been conquered by you. I guess, Om Jnana Timirandasya, oh, actually I should read the purport, then I'll do that. Yeah. In regard to the word Jita, Srila Madhva Muni gives the following quotation from the Shabda Nirnaya. Oh, here's the verse. It's from the Shabda Nirnaya. Parabhutam Vashastam Cha Jitabi Uchite Buddhai. If one comes under someone else's control or is defeated by another, he is called Jita. Hiranyakashipu's austerity was so great and wonderful that even Lord Brahma agreed to be conquered by him. Om Jnana-tamarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapatantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru and Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitangscha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavev Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I was really in this verse, in this purport, it's not a big purport, but I was intrigued by this word Jita and Ajita, that I wanted to kind of expand on that a little further. And we can see the situation that the universe is in such under such pressure with the heat and the austerities caused by Hiranyakashipu's meditation, that the sages and the other demigods just appealed to Lord Brahma, hey, we've got to mitigate this. We just got to stop it as is. You know, in one sense, they were worried about what the future is going to hold too once he gets the blessings from Lord Brahma. But they just needed to stop the immediate danger and then move on from there. So they wanted to stop that. Let's see here. I was looking at this, and I know that both Dharmasetu and Dravida Prabhus had spoken to this a little bit, but I was really intrigued by how, you know, the demigods, even Lord Brahma, they're so, you know, they're obliged to, you know, within the way this universe is set up, that they're obliged to reciprocate if somebody's performing austerities. Just like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that those who worship the demigods, they can actually get fruits pretty quickly, although it's limited and temporary. It's not a solid investment of time or energy. And so even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva have to respond if people perform austerities. And part of it is also out of compassion, because they're, you know, devotees of Krishna, great souls. They actually have compassions on other living entities. So I wanted to expand a little bit more on we're getting into the predicament that Lord Brahma and the demigods and the whole universe is going to get in because Hiranyakashipu got these benedictions. But I was going to step back and just read some text from the Srimad Bhagavatam on the event where Lord Shiva was in a similar predicament with Vṛkāsura. And I was going to expand on it a little bit. So, and what it is, I'm going to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam translations. If you want to get even further into it, which is amazing, if you read what Srila Prabhupada has to say from Krishna book, chapter 10 or chapter 88, Prabhupada really expands on it very, very nicely. But I wanted to read this off just because to discuss a little bit of that and how Krishna gets involved to help the situation. So, Krishna, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead speaking, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:88-11. Because I am difficult to worship, people generally avoid me and instead worship other deities who are quickly satisfied. When people receive kingly opulences from these deities, they become arrogant, intoxicated with pride, and neglectful of their duties. They dare to offend even the demigods who have bestowed benedictions upon them. Shukadev Goswami said, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, and others are able to curse or bless one. Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are very quick to curse or bestow benedictions. My dear king, he's speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, My dear king, but the infallible Lord is not. In this connection, an ancient historical account is related concerning how the Lord of Kailas mountain, Lord Shiva, was put into danger by offering a choice of benedictions to the demon Vṛka. The demon named Vṛka, son of Shakunis, once met Narada on the road. The wicked fellow asked him which of the three chief gods could be pleased most quickly. So he had a motive and he wanted to fill it fast. Narada told him, "Worship Lord Shiva and you will soon achieve success." He quickly becomes pleased by seeing his worshippers' slightest good qualities and quickly angered by seeing his slightest fault. He became pleased with ten-headed Ravana and also with Bana when they each chanted his glories, like bards in a royal court. Lord Shiva then bestowed unprecedented power upon each of them, but in both cases he was consequently beset with great difficulty. Shukadeva Goswami continued, thus advised, the demon proceeded to worship Lord Shiva at Kedaranath by taking pieces of his flesh from his own body, cutting them off, and offering them as oblations into the sacred fire, which is Lord Shiva's mouth. It's described when they offer oblations to the demigods, that the fire represents that demigod, or is the channel by which offerings are made to them. Vṛkāsura became frustrated after failing to obtain a vision of the Lord. Finally, on the seventh day, after dipping his hair into the holy waters at Kedaranath and leaving it wet, he took up a hatchet and prepared to cut off his head. But at the very moment, the supremely merciful Lord Shiva rose up out of the sacrificial fire, looking like the god of fire himself, and grabbed both arms of the demon to stop him from killing himself, just as we would do. Anyone with compassion would step in. By Lord Shiva's touch, Vṛkāsura once again became whole. Lord Shiva said to him, "My friend, please stop. Ask for me whatever you want, and I will bestow that boon upon you. Alas, you have subjected your body to great torment for no reason, since I am pleased with the simple offering of water from those who approach me for shelter." Shukadeva Goswami continued, the benediction sinful Vṛka chose from the Lord would terrify all living beings. Vṛka said, "May death come to whomever I touch upon the head with my hand." Upon hearing this, Lord Rudra seemed somewhat disturbed. Nonetheless, O descendant of Bharat, he vibrated Om to signify his assent, granting Vṛka the benediction with an ironic smile, as if giving milk to a poisonous snake. To test Lord Shambhu's benediction, the demon then tried to put his hand on the Lord's head. Thus Shiva was frightened because of what he himself had done. As the demon pursued him, Lord Shiva fled swiftly from his abode in the north, shaking with terror. He ran as far as the limits of the earth, the sky, and the corners of the universe. The great demigods could only remain silent, not knowing how to counteract the benediction. Then Lord Shiva reached the luminous realm of Vaikuntha, beyond all darkness, where the Supreme Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva is manifest. That realm is the destination of renunciants who have attained peace and given up all violence against other creatures. Going there, one never returns. The Supreme Lord, who relieves his devotees' distress, had seen from afar that Lord Shiva was in danger. Thus, by his mystic Yogamaya potency, he assumed the form of a brahmachari student. So this is Krishna stepping in to help his great devotee, Lord Shiva. Thus, by his mystic Yogamaya potency, he assumed the form of a brahmachari student with the appropriate belt, deerskin, rod, and prayer beads, and came before Vṛkāsura. The Lord's effulgence glowed brilliantly like fire. Holding kusha grass in his hand, he humbly greeted the demon. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear son of Shakuni, you appear tired. Why have you come such a great distance? Please rest for a minute. After all, it is one's body that fulfills all one's desires." So he's telling him, got to take care of yourself, slow down. "O mighty one, please tell us what you intend to do. If we are qualified to hear it, usually one accomplishes his purposes by taking help from others." Shukadeva Goswami said, thus questioned by the personality of Godhead in language that poured down upon him like sweet nectar, Vṛka felt relieved of his fatigue. He described to the Lord everything he had done. So the Lord convinced him to confide in him in that way. The Supreme Lord said, if this is the case, we cannot believe what Shiva says. Shiva is the same Lord of the Pretas and Pishachas whom Daksha cursed to become like a carnivorous hobgoblin. O best of the demons, if you have any faith in him because he is the spiritual master of the universe, then without delay, put your hand on your own head and see what happens. If the words of Lord Shiva prove untrue in any way, O best of the demons, then kill the liar so he may never lie again. Thus bewildered by the personality of Godhead's enchanting, artful words, foolish Vṛka, without realizing what he was doing, placed his hand on his own head. Instantly his head shattered as if struck by a lightning bolt, and the demon fell down dead. From the sky were heard cries of victory, obeisances, and well done. The celestial sages, Pitas, Gandharvas, rained down flowers to celebrate the killing of sinful Vṛkāsura. Now Lord Shiva was out of danger. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then addressed Lord Girisha, Lord Shiva, who was now out of danger. Just see, O Mahadev, my Lord, how this wicked man has been killed by his own sinful reactions. Indeed, what living being can hope for good fortune if he offends exalted saints? What to speak of offending the Lord and the spiritual master of the universe? Lord Hari is the directly manifest absolute truth, the supreme soul and unlimited ocean of inconceivable energies. Anyone who recites or hears this pastime of his saving Lord Shiva will be freed from all enemies and the repetition of birth and death. So there's a really nice comment here in the purport by Srila Sridhar Swami, and concluding the chapter. He said, when Lord Keshava saw the danger confronting his devotees, his lotus-like heart became filled with sympathy. Thus he delivered Lord Shiva from the consequences of his own eloquent words. So it's really sweet to meditate on how Krishna, observing the whole situation, how Lord Shiva got in such a predicament, how he personally intervened to help mitigate the situation. But it also kind of shows how the demigods can get into difficulty when the demons, with ill motivations do austerities, and then they're, trying to get these benedictions and what they're going to do with these benedictions. But it's interesting to see how Krishna keeps an eye on things. Just like as we go further into this chapter, or into the whole pastime of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, we're going to see how Krishna foresaw and was able to get around Lord Brahma's benediction to do away with Hiranyakashipu, which is really, and you can see we're all totally dependent on the Supreme Lord for any challenge that we can run into. If he can save Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, he can certainly be there to help us. Let's see here. I've got control of everybody. This is interesting because it was mentioned that to worship Lord Krishna can be difficult. Now we know and to worship the demigods, it may be not as difficult, but the fruits you get are limited and temporary. It puts you into so much, it doesn't stay with you, and it just implicates you more in material activities. But there's a verse here from the Srimad Bhagavatam where it talks about Krishna's favor on the devotees if they try to approach him with some material motivation. So we're looking at austerities and dedicating oneself to a cause. If we dedicate ourselves to the cause of serving Krishna, Krishna takes a personal hand in our lives. So here's a verse. It goes, Yasyaham anugranami harishe tad danang shanai tato danang tyajant yasya swajana dukkha dukhitam. The personality of Godhead said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. So it's just giving vision that Krishna, we'll find in our devotional lives that sometimes we're going to have desires that aren't exactly in line with devotional service. First of all, Krishna most likely will not fulfill those desires. He's going to keep you out of harm's way, so to speak. And even more so, he may even kind of like push you in certain ways by taking certain things away in your life to help you graduate more toward Krishna. And our Srila Prabhupada, he actually mentioned in his own life how he had aspirations to build his business in a certain way. And it wasn't like he was thinking, oh, I'm going to enjoy this, but he was going to use those fruits to help expand Krishna consciousness. But Krishna had other plans and everything kind of fell apart. But for him, because Srila Prabhupada is fully under the shelter, loving shelter of Krishna, he took it as a direction from Krishna which way he needed to go, which was to leave that situation and to dedicate himself to preparing to fulfill the mission for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So here's another example as far as Krishna's going back to these terms, Ajita. So Krishna's unconquerable. But from the Madhya Lila, there's a really beautiful verse. It says from chapter 4, verse 137, I'll just read the English. Upon seeing the ecstatic loving symptoms manifest in Madhavendra Puri, the priest, Madhavendra Puri was visiting a temple there, Shirashora Gopinath. The priest was struck with wonder. He could understand why Krishna had become so much obliged to him. And he saw that Krishna's action was befitting. So, that was from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, Madhavendra Puri's devotional service.
What was the action?
Oh, that the sweet rice was set aside for Madhavendra Puri, that Krishna, the deity, actually personally did that. So very, very sweet pastime, and the priest was just amazed that he could understand that, Krishna did this out of love for his devotee. So it describes how, in this way, Krishna is conquered by the love of his devotee, that it reciprocates. And there's so many ways that Krishna reciprocates, but this is a very sweet example. And in the purport, it describes that a devotee can bring Krishna perfectly under his control. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Ajita jito pyasya tais tri lokyam. Krishna is never conquered by anyone, but a devotee can conquer him through devotional service. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Vedesha durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto. One cannot understand Krishna simply by reading Vedic literature. Although all Vedic literature is meant for understanding Krishna, one cannot understand Krishna without being a lover of Krishna. Therefore, along with the reading of Vedic literature, svadhyaya, one must engage in devotional service of the deity, Archana Vidhi. Together, these will enhance the devotee's transcendental understanding of devotional service. Shravanadi Shuri Chitte Karya Udoy. Love of God is dormant within everyone's heart, and if one simply follows the standard process of devotional service, it is awakened. But foolish, mundane people who simply read about Krishna mistakenly think that he is immoral or criminal. And then there was another nice reference here, how, you have to excuse my, so many years I worked in at a desk managing things for 24-hour fitness. I was not always sitting cross-legged on the floor, so I have to kind of put my legs down like this because my body's 65 years old. It's not going to bend back right away. So, okay. It says from this purport is relation to Bhishma Dev remembering his loving exchanges with the Lord in the mood of chivalry. So it's not just reciprocations there's all kinds of reciprocations that Krishna becomes subject to the devotee's love. In the purport it says the Supreme Lord cannot have any enemy, nor can a so-called enemy harm him, because he is Ajita, or unconquerable. But still he takes pleasure when his pure devotee beats him like an enemy or rebukes him from a superior position, like Mother Jashoda. Although no one can be superior to the Lord. These are some of the transcendental reciprocatory dealings of the devotee with the Lord. And those who have no information of pure devotional service cannot penetrate into the mystery of such dealing. Now, talking about this word jita, ajita, when the term ajita is put in another context, and of course Dravida may be able to illuminate more for us on this. In another context, you see that there's the unfortunate situation for the materialists that instead of aspiring to conquer Krishna with submission and pure love and devotional service, they become conquered by their senses. So I wanted to reference this one. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:30-18, a description by Lord Kapila of adverse, fruitive activities. I'll read the translation, a little bit of the purport here. Thus the man, what I wanted to mention was one verse here, or one part of the verse. It says, Vyapatatma Jatendriya. So in the word for word, it says ajita, uncontrolled, indriya, senses. So there's ajita tendriya. That term actually means that one is actually conquered by the senses. So it says, thus the man who engaged with uncontrolled senses in maintaining a family dies in great grief, seeing his relatives crying. He dies most pathetically, in great pain, and without consciousness. So it just, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that at the time of death, this is from the purport, one will be absorbed in thoughts which he cultivated during his lifetime. A person who has no other idea than to properly maintain his family members must have family affairs in his last thoughts. That is a natural sequence for a common man. The common man does not know the destiny of his life. He is simply busy in his flash of life, maintaining his family. At the last stage, no one is satisfied with how he has improved the family economic condition. Everyone thinks that he could not provide sufficiently. Because of his deep family affection, he forgets his main duty of controlling the senses and improving his spiritual consciousness. And it just, I was reflecting on this, when I'm, somehow or other I've been able to retire from my occupation and spend more time, trying to become Krishna conscious and to also help some with the book distribution. And when you read this verse and you interact with people out there, you see what a desperate situation they're in. They have no idea that they're absorbed in these, family life activities, they're absorbed in ugra karma, sinful activity, and they're fast approaching this point of death. Well, they'll be crying, but they won't have any real shelter. So it's so important, we're so blessed here because we can control our senses, taking shelter of Krishna. Like it said earlier, worshiping beautiful Shri Shri Radha Giridhari, taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada, chanting the holy names, which is most essential. And you'll find at any time, that we can be sheltered and our senses can come under control by the mercy of Krishna. But I'm out there on Sankirtan and I meet these people and you think about their destiny, and if somehow or other you can just plug in a little bit with them, it's just so nice to give them that opportunity. I mean, like, sometimes they don't take a book, but at least they touch the Bhagavad Gita and they look at it and they say, oh, that's interesting. They said, no, but not now. But they gotten that close. And it was interesting. There was Govardhan mentions that I've experienced it too. The Chinese people, Oriental people, are like, boy, it's like trying to penetrate an impenetrable barrier to get them to stop or to get them to touch a book or something. So I always, when they walk by, I go, at first I try to offer them a flyer. The flyer talks about the glories of the holy name and has the Maha Mantra. It's really nice because even if someone doesn't get a book, they look at the flyer and has websites and everything. Check out Krishna.com and Vedabase.com. They still read through the Hare Krishna mantra, so it's getting there. But the Oriental people, a lot of times, is like, hi, how you doing? Here, take one of these. They go, oh, no, thank you. I say, okay, have a great day, Hare Krishna. And I'll try to I'm kind of thinking of going right into your ear, so the next time you come by, maybe you'll take one of these, So, but I do that with everyone. I say, have a great day, Hare Krishna. They don't quite catch the Hare Krishna, although they hear it. They just say, oh, thank you very much. You have a great day too. So, just considering this whole topic of Jita and how Lord Brahma, he came down, he was conquered by Hiranyakashipu's austerities, and he was obliged to reciprocate and give him whatever benedictions he wanted. He actually kind of informed him that, I'm not going to be able to give you immortality, but Hiranyakashipu, like mentioned in earlier classes, thought that, well, hey, I got a workaround. I'm going to become immortal. Don't kill me here, there. Don't kill me by any animal or human. All these different, no weapons. Yeah, everything like that. He really thought he had like ironclad claws, but of course Krishna came through differently. Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, you'll find out later, is such a sweet pastime. So. So it's just this chapter goes on in that way that he gets this benediction, and then from there, he's going to get this really powerful, youthful body, and he's going to have all these blessings, and he asks for the 8 mystic city perfections, and then he just starts creating havoc and problems. So it's unfortunate how people they get caught up in a motive for material acquisition, and they start of course. Hiranyakashipu as a demon was very elevated. He worshipped Lord Brahma, but now people, they worship, highly placed people within society that have no good qualities, and the problem is that the consciousness of the leader tends to affect the society. So if you get, you're absorbed in a bad leader, it's going to be bad effects, just ripple effects across the whole society. So part of our motive is to, share this Krishna consciousness, share this knowledge so that people will gradually awaken and, things will change in due course, to get Krishna conscious people in leadership. So I wanted to also share, I'm not going to be able to quite be in the same league as Govardhan Prabhu and Dvijamani Prabhu, but I have been noting down, I try to keep it a habit with it where I'm sitting at my table that I write down different people, I write down people's names, and I kind of remember my interaction with them. And I had written down here some of those exchanges that I wanted to share with all of you. And let's see here. Aha. So first of all, let's see here. I was just going to read a few of these. I've got a lot, but I won't read them all. What some fun events that happen. By the way, you meet so many people out there, all walks of life. You meet them there. Doctors, lawyers, psychologists, psychiatrists, HR managers, human resource managers, business owners, teachers, engineers, military, personnel, students, regular working folks, and so on. And all around, from around the world. And it's so exciting when they take a book with them. One thing that happened, I was on Sankirtan a couple weeks ago, and I was reading Vijay's book, the Treasures of the Brihat Mridanga. And if you haven't read it, I definitely recommend you get a copy and read it. It's really sweet. I know Dravida Prabhu's already read it. So, yeah. Oh, you worked on it. So he's got it. Just like so many other nectar he's got inside. He's got that in there too. So I was reading Vijay's book, and I came across a paragraph where a devotee recommended that we pray to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna to understand their mission. We can have that enlightenment in the heart. So one day I was praying like this on the book distribution Sankirtan, and a lady by the name of Heather walked up and she just walked up to the table, and she started chanting 2 Bhagavad Gita verses, 4.7 and 4.8. Whenever and wherever there's decline of religious practice, I descend, O descendant of Bharata, and predominant rise of religion. At that time, I descend myself. In order to annihilate the miscreants as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. She came up to the table, folded her hands, quoted the Sanskrit very nicely, and then just said those 2 verses. And I was thinking in my mind, Dravida would be very proud of you. Yeah. And her name's Heather. She has tattoos all over her arm. She's kind of a thin lady. But she was really nice. She says she comes to the temple, and she just walked up and just started quoting those verses. And I thought in my mind, boy, Dravida would be very proud of me. And I was thinking, boy, Krishna definitely set aside. So I remember meeting, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I conversed with her, and I think she took a hiding in happiness. She said, I got a lot of the other books, and she got the little flyer. She said, oh yeah, I've gone to the Krishna Lounge sometimes, and I mentioned, of course, your Bhagavad Gita classes. I think I know her. Yeah, but really nice. I was thinking, wow, out of the blue, Hare Krishna. Krishna's mystical.
And this was right after you just prayed?
Yeah, like probably within a half hour. She just walks up like that. It's like, Hare Krishna. So Krishna's reciprocation is there for us always, but it's really it sometimes becomes a little prominent when you're out there doing the books. A few weeks ago, I met a nice Spanish man. His name was Primitivo, and he came up to me and he was anxiety. He said, I can't sleep. I'm anxiety. And he's older, and what can I do? And a Spanish-speaking man. So well, you should take this here, a Spanish-speaking Bhagavad Gita. I handed that to him. He said, read a little bit every day and then chant this mantra. And it'll help you. It'll help relieve you of your stress and help you to understand your spiritual nature. And he was so happy to get it. But it's interesting when you're out there, just like here at the temple, people come up to you and they ask advice. And it really kind of fulfills, in our role as servants of Srila Prabhupada's mission is that we're here to kind of help others, So automatically you're in a role where you're trying to give advice and guidance, and just like that happens here with we hear in the classes and the instructions of senior devotees and also just with God brothers, just for good advice, So it was really sweet exchange. And then there's another lady who came by. Her name was Diana. She's studying Oriental medicine. And she really liked the Bhagavad Gita. She was really into it. She stopped by and then she said, but my son's having a hard time. I said, well, you take this Bhagavad Gita and also take the Hiding in Happiness. And, I know you can't really pressure him, but, see if he'll read it. And, and then I invited her to the programs and everything like that. She said, yeah, I'd love to go. And it turns out she came back a couple weeks later to Balboa Park, and she wanted to see me. She said, I lost that little flyer for the programs. So we gave her the other flyer, and she said she'd been reading. She said, I'm real excited. I'm just getting to the background on the battlefield. So it was just really sweet to hear that she's diving into the book. Another example, I met a fellow named Darren who works as a firefighter up in Rancho Cucamonga, just north of us. And so we got to talking, and he was really interested, and he took a Bhagavad Gita. I said, along with putting out fires outside, you could put out the fire in our hearts, with transcendental Krishna consciousness, So he was very encouraged and took the book. This was kind of an interesting one. I met a gentleman who, you could see a very intelligent, well-spoken young man, and I said, oh, hey, I always get to know them a little bit. What's your name? What do you do for a living? And he said, I'm he says, I do yoga, and I like that a lot, but what's your occupation? He said, well, I work for the government, but I can't really, talk about it too much. So I got the idea of some kind of covert, but I could tell he was sincere. Sometimes people say that, they're kind of like just gaming with you, but you could see that I took it as genuine. And he was very intrigued, and he took a Srimad Bhagavatam. And I think, this person's working, for the government in some, capacity, and he's going to read Srimad Bhagavatam, and that seed's going to plant in his heart, and, where's that going to go? The Srimad Bhagavatam, the 1-1, it's the blue book. Yeah, it's just chapters 1 through 8. Yeah, but they love that one. I tell us from, I always explain to them, this book there was an assembly of sages in an ancient forest in Naimisharanya. And they were actually mystics. They could see the future. And they thought, what knowledge would bless people in this day and age to help them become happy and to gain spiritual enlightenment? And people really like that. They're really intrigued. And then show them the Sanskrit and everything like that. So that was really nice. And sometimes people walk right up to you. They see the Bhagavad Gita and say, Bhagavad Gita, I've been looking for a Bhagavad Gita. So they do that. They just get it on the spot, and then they sometimes take some other books too. It's really sweet. Well, this is kind of an interesting one. It's just kind of neat to see how far Prabhupada's books travel. One lady came. She was an older lady, probably in her 70s. Of course, I say older. I'm 65. I'm up in that category too. So, anyways, her and her husband were from Canada, from a remote town in Canada, and they were walking around. She said, "Yeah, what do you got there?" And oh, this looks really interesting. She started looking at the Bhagavad Gita, and I was going through it with her and describing it to her. She said, yeah, me and my husband, we retired. We moved to this small town in Canada, and there's 3 churches in town, and they all have on their billboards, come join us and you'll be saved. But I feel like, I've already got a connection with God. It's just weird how each one, unless you join their church, you're not going to be saved. So she said, I think I like reading this. She said, I feel like that we have a connection with God in our heart. And I said, oh, this book would be very, very, you're going to like it very much. And then you think about it, a couple weeks later, like I said, I wrote her name down in notes. She's sitting in some remote town in Canada. She's reading Bhagavad Gita. It's so sweet, Oh boy, let's see here. Oh, this is another one. I was thinking about Govardhan. Govardhan's a hospice care. Did hospice caretaking before, and I'm sure got a lot of realization about the nature. I mean, he shared some of his stories of what people experience, and this will save them from those bad experiences. There was a hospice worker. His name was Ed, and he said that when he deals with his patients, he tries to be able to message to them, to comfort them, with spiritual knowledge. But, he says he sometimes got to navigate it a little carefully depending upon where their head's at. But he was so intrigued, he took a Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, oh, I'll like this, and I'll read it, and then he'll try to convey it to his patients in words that they can take. So that was really nice to hear. Another little fun one. Even the small events where you're handing out, like the Spanish perfection of yogas. I had one Spanish family come up to me and they said, okay, what do you got here? And they were going through it. And we want to get that small book right there. Our son needs to practice English, and I want him to practice on that book. So he got a perfection of yoga. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, actually, I'm saying it was the English version. You're right. He got the English version to practice it. But I was just thinking that's going to be so neat. He's going to be doing that. So, yeah. So it was really sweet. And then just last week, I met a young man came up to me. His name was Keaton. And him and his brother and his father came up and says, "You got books on philosophy? I've been getting into philosophy. What do you got?" So he was so excited, and he ended up, I showed him the Bhagavad Gita and went through the pages and, some of the illustrations and, how much wisdom is there. It's actually the true purport or knowledge behind yoga and meditation. This is wisdom that breathes that you can take with you and apply in your life, And another analogy I often use is that you're driving a train. Life is like driving a train. One track is, you got to take care of your family, your occupation, and loved ones, your responsibilities. But the other important rail to move forward is your spiritual wisdom, cultivating spiritual life. And that's what these books give you. And once you take a Bhagavad Gita, it's there with you for life. You can always read it. I said I read it, every day myself. And people like that. They can take a book with them, and it's going to be with them for life. But he's really excited, and he ended up getting a hardbound Bhagavad Gita and a book stack, a stack of the 6 books to read. And it's really nice how they make these book stacks, and people are so excited to get them. So anyways, they got this book stack, and I said, "Oh, by the way, how old are you?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm 17. I said, "Hey, when I was turning 17, I got into this. So I need you to dive into this and carry the torch forward, okay?" And he was excited to say that he would do that. So, and then I had another fun one last week. A lady walked up, and she goes, I said, "How are you doing today?" She goes, stands right in front of my table. She goes, "I'm looking for inspiration." And I said, "Well, you've come to the right place." So we were able to, she ended up, she got a chanting and be happy and hiding in unhappiness. And then I showed her the Hare Krishna mantra and how to chant it. I said, "This mantra will give you all inspiration. It'll awaken, everything that you need in your heart." So she was real happy to get it and take it with her. And then I just wanted to share with you some other quick notes about, I know the Christmas Marathon's coming up. And, of course, I'm not the same level of participant like, Govardhan and Dvijamani. And now we have Bhakti Chad. And I know Prabhu and other Prabhus here also, distribute books. But yesterday I only got out for a couple hours. So I was thinking, should I go out? Because I had to take care of all these other responsibilities. But what's nice about this setup, you get a book table. I have signs at each end, yoga, meditation, philosophy books. You have all the books set up on a nice tablecloth. You're sitting in a chair, and you have the flyers. The flyers are great because you catch people. "Hey, let me give you one of these. Oh, by the way, let me show you." Once they've stopped, you're able to present them, and it's so nice because it's quick to set up. And like Govardhan said, if it gets a little slow, you just chant Hare Krishna, or you turn on your phone or whatever and read some Bhagavad Gita or something like that. But yesterday, within that time frame, even though I was thinking you've got La Jolla Shores, you got other things around here, but Govardhan will get you set up with a table and everything. It's so easy to set up, and it's so attractive. People actually sometimes come to you, or if you flag them, they know straight up what you've got, and you can share it with them. But yesterday, I met an Indian man and his son visiting from Irvine. They gave a donation and took the Science of Self-Realization and Light of the Bhagavat, little paperback. It's really sweet. And then a gentleman from Fallbrook. It was interesting because sometimes people, they take books just like that. Like this gentleman from Fallbrook, he came up and I was thinking, kind of where he's at. I was trying to read him a little bit. I said, "Hi, how you doing? What's your name? And what do you do?" Like that. And he said, "Oh, yeah. And I showed him the Bhagavad Gita. And and like Govardhan said, sometimes their attention isn't real strong. So you got to kind of like flow quickly, come to the point, make a connection and try to come to the point. And I said, "Yeah, everybody's taking one of these books. Just take it with you and give a donation." He said, "Okay." And I said, "Okay." And most people pitch in like 20. So he pitched in, but it was like he wasn't really engaging with me, but he was kind of like, "Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. And then, "Would you like a bag to carry your book?" "Sure." And it was like boom, boom, boom. It's like, Hare Krishna. And then, and like I said, we meet doctors. So I got a husband and wife who are both doctors from Mexico. And really nice exchange, and they gave a donation, took a Spanish Science of Self-Realization. Another firefighter, a fireman from Northern California, he gave a donation and took a Hiding in Unnatural Happiness. A group of 3 high school kids, they really liked the Bhagavad Gita. They were going to share it. They took a hardbound Bhagavad Gita. A couple here from San Diego, they were cruising through, and they took gave a donation, took a Hiding in Unnatural Happiness. And then a young lady with her father. This is kind of the sweetest part of the day at the very end, you know, before I had to pack up. It was a young lady, she's in college, she's majoring in psychology. And when she saw the Bhagavad Gita and we started talking about it, she was like so enthusiastic, and her dad's there, you know. And finally I said, yeah, you know, we don't have a set price on this, but everyone usually gives a donation and cover the cost of the printing books, take it with you. She said, oh yeah. And she looks at her dad, what can you help me with this, you know? So they, you know, he said, sure, you know, he was also enthusiastic that she was enthusiastic. And they gave a $20 donation. And then what Govardhan said, like sometimes when you give a 20, we give them a stack too, Bhagavad Gita and a stack. So when I gave her the additional stack, she was like, oh, you made my day. I've just been kind of down lately. I wanted to dive into something, and this is like perfect. Thank you so much. And she was holding the book to her heart, you know, and that's how the day ended. But I just want to say it's really sweet out there. I remember doing book distribution many years ago, and the receptivity or the, you know, it was a little more, you know, you had to kind of go through a little more coverings to kind of reach people. You know, it was a little more challenging. But now people were very, very open. So I just want to put a plug in there that even if you go out for a couple hours, it's worth it, and you'll experience these sweet events. And yeah.
Is it just you get people from all over, like from Canada and they're on vacation?
Should we have the microphone, or
Oh, that's it, yeah.
just in case?
That you get a wide variety of people. They're looking, you know, they're not in the business, they're not shopping, you know, they're not going to work. They're in kind of a receptive mood, you know, they're on vacation, sort of, right? In other words, they're tourists, many of them, right? So versus the variety, and then the kind of the base mentality, and the way, you know, you present it, I can see that, you know, so many people would be attracted. So it's such a, I mean, when Vijay was here, he said this was his favorite spot to distribute in the park, you know, for years.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we'll get him back. I've been reading about the weather in Houston. It's pretty
Yeah,
good.
I was tracking that too. I was thinking, hey, that storm might make a move back here. So.
Possible tornadoes, you know. Jeez. I mean, I'm not hoping that happens, but, you know.
Not that we want anything bad to happen, right. So let's see here. Yeah, so that's what I had to present, and like I said, it's a sweet experience. But then I was also meditating on the temple here. Like Srila Prabhupada mentioned, the worship of the deities and everything that's offered here. And when I'm out there, I always hand out the little flyers, you know, to interested people for the free Bhagavad Gita classes or the Krishna Lounge programs, or to come for darshan, the temple, and like that. So it's so the temple is so important that everything that's done here. I mean, these people, we know some of them are going to be showing up, and that they're going to want to get a taste, you know, understand what we're doing. And how we greet them, how we receive them, the condition of the temple, condition of the gardens. I mean, even, you know, caring for the gardens, you know, nicely, and the plants. Everything about this temple is so auspicious for serving Srila Prabhupada, Shri Radha Giridhari, and Shri Gauratai, and Lord Jagannath Baladev, and Lady Subhadra. But it's also part of the preaching mission. It's like like an embassy, right? A spiritual. Like an embassy, so it's affording people an opportunity to make further Krishna conscious advancement. In fact, one talk by Srila Prabhupada I heard the other day, where Prabhupada was complimenting, it might have been in Bombay, where people come, and when the devotees offer obeisances, out of etiquette, people think, oh well, that's what that's the etiquette, that's what I'm supposed to do. So they follow suit, even though they may not totally understand it, and thus they derive the spiritual benefits. So it's so we're all tied together here. So. We may be distributing books, but what's the objective of the books? People take up Krishna consciousness, and then they can, you know, come to the temple, get the association devotees, and make further and further advancement, you know. And I know that's all our story, right? We somehow or other got a book or associated with devotees, and all of a sudden we were pulled in, and here we are. By Srila Prabhupada's grace. And the power of prasada, for sure. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhu. Any questions or comments or anything?
I have a comment.
Maitreya Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I hear your voice out of speaker. It's nice to hear your voice.
Thank you. Yeah, I heard the scores this morning, and I thought, is that is that the old Yamunapati Prabhu? Is he gone back out? And I'm very happy when I saw you giving class. I'm like, yes, that was Yamunapati Prabhu. So nice to hear those Sankirtan pastimes. I mean, it's just, I'm so glad that you wrote it down. It's such a nice service to do it, and then also to be able to relate these pastimes to the devotees, so we can just float on this river of nectar. I also liked the Jita that you spoke of during your class, Jita and Ajita.
Yeah.
Very, very thought-provoking. And I noticed something yesterday, or was the day before, Bhakti Maharaj was giving class, and he mentioned that Lord Brahma was told later by Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, don't do that again. Don't give these sorts of benedictions to demons. But while we read this morning, Lord Brahma was Jita. He didn't really have a choice. I mean, we can sort of put our heart in with Lord Brahma. He didn't know what was going to happen in the future, and he was sort of obligated. The sages and everyone was begging him. So I actually just sort of had a question about that. Is just this the Leela, that a soul from the spiritual world is so powerful he can conquer any universe he wants to? Or if Lord Brahma had wanted to follow the instructions of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva and not offered the benedictions, would that have been an option for him? It makes you wonder. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too. I was thinking in the future that if Lord Brahma comes up against a situation like this, like a Hiranyakashipu, which he said has never been seen before and probably will never be seen again, that he could actually directly approach Krishna and say, hey, I'm kind of stuck here. What do I do? He'll know to go to Krishna first and figure out how to navigate it. But in this situation, it definitely seems to be tied into Leela, which glorifies, Prahlāda Mahārāja. And yeah, we wouldn't have Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva. Pat?
Yeah, good point. I also just want to mention that Balboa Park has been a place of Sankirtan Leela for a long time. Srila Prabhupada was there, so it's a bona fide kirta. And I would love to go on book distribution with you there at the soonest opportunity. I'll let you know when I'm coming into town. Maybe we can make that happen.
Oh, that'd be sweet. I'd love to have you with you. Remind me, I'll bring an extra chair.
All right, Haribol.
Yeah, it'll be really sweet, for sure. Thank you very much, Maitreya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vijay?
Yes, Prabhu, I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. You're most kind. Dandavat Pranams. Prabhu, in the translation to the text you chose for today, text 19, I see that the subject is the performance of severe austerities. So based on this, my question is, if a person asks of you about how austere Srila Prabhupada was, what would you say?
Boy, Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example of using every moment in loving service to Krishna and his spiritual master. So the real austerity is that we understand the mood of the Lord, the mission of the Lord, the mission of our spiritual master, and we dedicate ourselves to that. These other austerities of, like what Hiranyakashipu did, were all just, materially motivated for his own aggrandizement. But Srila Prabhupada was a perfect example of dedicating everything, your life, words, heart, everything to Krishna, to his spiritual master, and to sharing or spreading Krishna consciousness. So, and that austerity is really not. It's an austerity that's what is it? Joyfully performed. Sasukham kartamavyayam. That is joyfully performed. Because we've chanting Hare Krishna kirtan. We've got wonderful prasadam. We've got the most beautiful deities. We've got Prabhupada's books to read, which are so absorbing and amazing. You read them over and over again. I mean, we got the association of wonderful devotees, the best association in the three worlds. So the austerity is there, but it's just a matter of grasping on to what Srila Prabhupada's given us and really taking it to heart and taking shelter in that way.
So that is your answer?
Yes. Is Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu, beyond your okay. Thank you very much. It was a very helpful and beautiful answer to my question. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhus, thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.